So it's March 2026. We're roughly a week into this U.S. and Israeli war on Iran, and things are getting really complicated.
Oh, incredibly complicated. It's like all the rules have just been tossed out the window.
Right. And today's stack of sources reads honestly like a geopolitical thriller,
Right.
because we've got this startling paradox at the center of it all.
Yeah, the Russian involvement.
Exactly. So Russia is actively using its advanced satellite network, right, to give Iran real-time data on American military assets.
Which is a massive deal. They're basically painting a target on the backs of U.S. sailors.
And how does Washington respond to this? You'd think it would be swift retaliation, but no. The U.S. response is to temporarily lift sanctions on Russian oil.
I mean, it completely flips traditional geopolitics upside down.
It really does. But before we get too deep into this, I do want to take a quick pause just to remind you, the listener, that we are dealing with some highly sensitive, politically charged conflicts today.
Yeah, we're talking about the U.S., Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine. It's a lot.
It is a lot. And our goal here on the deep dive isn't to take a side or, endorse any specific foreign policy.
Right. We're strictly impartial today, just unpacking the facts and the perspectives presented in these sources.
Exactly. Our mission today is to figure out why this completely counterintuitive dynamic is happening. Like, how is the global oil market dictating military strategy?
And why you are already feeling the consequences of this every time you fill up at the gas pump.
Right. So, okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with this March 6th report from the Washington Post.
The intelligence sharing.
Yes. Russia is using its satellite network to give Iran real-time tracking of U.S. ships and planes, which explains why the Iranian strikes have been so surprisingly accurate.
Yeah, it's not luck. Iran has a lot of missiles, but over-the-horizon targeting is hard. With Russia's eyes in the sky, those missiles are suddenly highly precise.
But the thing I can't wrap my head around is the odd silence from the U.S.
Right, the Trump administration has been super quiet about this.
Especially Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Like, no public warnings.
Yeah.
No threats to Putin. I mean, if someone is standing in my yard handing my enemy the exact GPS coordinates of my house, I'm furious.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going after the guy with the GPS. So why is the U.S. playing nice here?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to rewind a bit. This isn't just random Russian aggression.
Okay, so what is it?
It goes back to a very specific feud in February 2025 between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky at the White House.
Oh, right. That meeting was famously a disaster.
The whole fallout. And the U.S. response was to temporarily cut off satellite intelligence to Ukraine.
Wow. And that had an immediate impact on the battlefield, didn't it?
Completely. It rendered Ukraine's HIMARS missiles essentially useless. They rely on that U.S. satellite telemetry.
Because without it, they just drift.
Exactly. So they eventually reconciled, right? And when they did, U.S. intel started helping Ukraine strike deep into Russian territory.
Specifically hitting those Russian oil refineries.
Yes. So fast forward to today. According to a U.S. official in our sources, Russia handing intel to Iran is basically them returning the favor.
Oh, wow.
It's a direct intelligence tit for tat. Russia is doing to the U.S. exactly what the U.S. helped Ukraine do to them.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like this unspoken acknowledgement from Washington. But, revenge is a great motivator, but national economies don't run on spite.
No, they run on money.
Right. And that leads us to the financial reality of 2026. Because a few weeks ago, things looked very different for oil producers.
Oh, dramatically different. Pre-war forecasts from UBS, Barclays, Goldman Sachs, they all said 2026 was going to be a disaster for producers.
Because there was a massive oversupply, right?
Yeah, an oversupply of about 4 million barrels a day. The experts were predicting prices would crash to like $55 a barrel.
Which is devastating for a country like Russia. I mean, their oil revenues were already down 24% last year from sanctions.
Exactly. They were staring down the barrel of an economic nightmare. But then this war starts, and within days, everything flips.
Because Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz.
Right. And for context, that strait is the vital choke point for a fifth of the world's oil.
And a huge chunk of natural gas, too, right?
Yep, 20% of global LNG. So when they closed it, prices instantly spiked. NYMEX crude jumped 36% in a single week.
Wow. Past $90 a barrel almost overnight.
And that triggers what analysts are calling the Gulf freeze. It's a cascading effect.
Right, because the oil literally has nowhere to go. The storage tanks just fill up.
Exactly. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, they've all had to declare force majeure or just straight up cut production.
And Qatar had to close their massive Ras Laffan facility.
Yeah, because once the storage is full, you have to shut down extraction. Qatar's energy minister, Assad Al-Kaabi, he actually warned this could drive prices to $150 a barrel.
Which would cause a global economic collapse.
Very likely, yeah.
So, wait, let me get this straight. Russia was facing a $55 oil market, which would have crippled them. And suddenly, this war hands them a winning lottery ticket.
That is exactly what happened. Russia needs this closure to last as long as possible. High prices refill their depleted treasury.
That is just wild. But let's pivot to how this hits you, the listener. Because U.S. gas prices hit $3.40 a gallon.
Highest since late 2024. People are understandably furious.
Totally. So the immediate question is, what is the U.S. doing to fix it?
Yeah.
Why don't our own shale producers just pump more oil?
It's the logical question. But the hard truth came out in an International Energy Agency meeting. Shale producers can only add a measly 240,000 barrels a day by May.
Wait, 240,000. But we're losing, what, 20 million barrels a day from the Gulf?
Yep. It's a drop in the bucket,
Right.
and there's this free rider problem happening.
What do you mean by that?
Well, these private shale companies are acting as free riders on the crisis. Instead of flooding the market to lower prices, they're using the high prices to pay off corporate debt.
And rewarding their shareholders.
Exactly. Wall Street demands capital discipline now. The era of pump at all costs is over.
And before anyone thinks Venezuela could step in, we looked at that. Their infrastructure is just way too degraded. It would take years.
Decades of decay, yeah. They can't help us right now.
So domestic production is a bust. Which brings us to Trump's March 3rd attempt to solve the shipping crisis.
The Maritime Initiative.
Right. Offering $20 billion in U.S. insurance through the DFC and promising that the Navy will escort these commercial tankers.
Which sounds good on paper, but practically, it's almost useless.
Really? Why?
Two main reasons. First, the industry needs a risk pool closer to $300 billion, not $20 billion.
Oh, so the math is just way off.
Way off. And second, like one maritime analyst pointed out, an insurance policy doesn't make a ship's hull missile-proof.
Right. Getting a payout doesn't save your crew from an Iranian drone.
Exactly. Captains aren't going to sail into a shooting gallery just because they have insurance.
But what about the U.S. Navy? I mean, we have these massive destroyers. Can't they just physically shield the cargo?
You have to picture the geography. The Strait of Hormuz is only 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point.
Wow, that is incredibly tight for a warship.
It is. Putting an expensive U.S. destroyer that close to the Iranian coastline, with all their drone swarms and missile batteries, it's a massive, massive risk.
Because they can't maneuver. They're basically sitting ducks in a narrow channel.
Precisely. And honestly, the U.S. simply doesn't have enough ships in the region to escort the 80 tankers that usually pass through there every single day.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because the U.S. is stuck, right? Domestic oil can't save them. The Navy can't open the strait.
So they get desperate.
They get very desperate, and they make this move that is just the ultimate irony.
Right, the 30-day waiver from the U.S. Treasury.
Yes. The U.S. literally lifts sanctions to allow India to buy Russian oil that was stranded at sea.
The goal there was to, ease global prices by getting that oil onto the market.
And what actually happened?
It backfired spectacularly. It ended up being a massive gift to Moscow.
Because before this, Russia was having to sell their oil at a massive discount, right? Like $13 below market price.
Exactly, because of the sanctions. But once the waiver hit and the market was starving for oil, buyers started competing for it.
Oh, man.
So Russia went from selling at a $13 discount to a $4 or $5 premium above market rate.
That is insane. The U.S. actively enriched its biggest rival to try and fix a crisis they helped start.
And it gets worse.
Okay.
Because it's not just an economic windfall for Russia. There's a massive military benefit, too.
Right, the weapon drain.
Yeah. President Zelensky pointed this out recently. The U.S. and allied forces burned through over 800 Patriot PAC-3 interceptor missiles in just a few days in the Middle East.
800.
800. And each one of those costs about $4 million.
And they're shooting down Iranian drones that cost, what, 20 grand?
Exactly. The math is brutal. And structurally, that is more Patriot missiles than Ukraine has used in over 4 years fighting Russia.
Wow. So we are just completely depleting our most advanced stockpiles.
So much so that the U.S. and Gulf states are actually scrambling to trade with Ukraine now.
Wait, really? What are they trading?
They're trying to get cheap drone interceptors from Ukraine in exchange for promising them Patriots down the line.
That is entirely backwards. We're supposed to be supplying them.
I know. The irony is just layered so thick here.
So what does this all mean then? I mean, Russia's making billions, our weapons are drained. Is Russia going all in for Iran? Are they going to officially join the war?
You know, it seems like they would, but the sources actually show there's a hard ceiling on Russia's help.
So there are limits to the friendship.
Very strict limits. Apparently, Iran has actually been pretty frustrated with the level of Russian support for a while now.
Since when?
Well, there's intel from at least June 2025. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araki, basically went to Moscow begging for more direct kinetic support.
And Putin said no.
Basically, yeah. Russia's ultimate priority is their own existential war in Ukraine. They love the economic benefits of this Middle East chaos, sure.
Right. They'll hold the coat while Iran and the U.S. fight.
Exactly, but they won't risk direct involvement. They don't want to get dragged into a regional war.
Which is fascinating because it just highlights the sheer unpredictability of this whole mess.
Right.
Like Gerald Firestein, the former diplomat, he said the U.S. approach has just been entirely improvised.
Improvised is a good word for it. They didn't game this out.
Right. I mean, they told regional leaders this was going to be a quick 4-day surgical strike.
And now?
Now, the official timeline they gave Congress is literally just, we don't know.
Wow. From 4 days to indefinitely.
Yeah. So to kind of synthesize this whole deep dive for you, the listener, we have a conflict that was supposed to last 4 days. It has morphed into this open-ended quagmire.
It shut down the world's most important energy artery.
It's directly hitting your wallet at the gas pump. And ironically, it has massively enriched and armed Russia, who is supposed to be our biggest geopolitical rival.
It's a masterclass in unintended consequences. And you know, this raises a really important question, something to think about. Well, we've seen how Russia is benefiting, but also the limits of their willingness to actually fight for Iran. But if this war drags on and Iran's supplies really start to dwindle under all these U.S. strikes, what happens if another global power decides to step in?
Like,
Go, say China. What if China decides to quietly step in with dual-use technology and economic lifelines, just like they did for Russia and Ukraine?
oh, wow.
If that happens, and Beijing fills that void, the economic shocks we're seeing today might just be the beginning.
Yeah, it is a chilling thought. Just when you think the board can't get any more complicated, a new player enters. That is definitely something to chew on. Well, thank you so much for bringing these sources and joining us on this deep dive today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to you listening, keep questioning those surface-level narratives, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.